Hi everybody, before this video starts, I just want to remind you to please hit the subscribe button. It only takes like 5 seconds, if that, and if you don't like what I have, you can unsubscribe at any time, no big deal. As a reminder, everything I do is now live streamed. Check the Discord link in the description below for details when I go live, or for $1.99 you become a member and watch any archive broadcasts, which includes early access to videos such as this one, exclusive gameplays, and behind the scenes footage such as editing. All that and more for $1.99 for a starter fee. Become a member tonight. Enjoy the video. 2020 was a fantastic year for games, a great year for this channel, and not much else. Now that we are firmly in 2021, it is time to look back at 2020 to see what games stood out the most. Well, to me anyway. This is my own personal top 5 games of the year 2020. There's only 2 criteria for my top 5. I had to have played the game. If I haven't, and it's apparently really good, it can still go on to honorable mentions, but it cannot be within the actual top 5 itself. The other criteria is obvious. It has to be released in 2020. With that out of the way, let's get going with number 5 game of the year 2020. Coming in at number 5 is a slightly surprising one, to me anyway. It is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Despite the Assassin's Creed games kind of stopping being about assassins in the last few titles, this game rekindled my interest in the series. The gameplay and map was a blast to play through, even if the story did drag itself way too long. And there was a couple bugs, but there was nothing really that major sprinkled in there. None of this hurts the game and how fun it is though. So if you're gonna play this, I hope you have a lot of free time on your hands because it is a long one. Speaking of surprises, this year, number 4 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. My all-time favorite video game franchise finally has an entry worth talking about again. It only took them almost 13 years to make another good one, and I could probably go even longer than that because Project 8 was not very good, but Proving Ground was alright. If this game had a lick of replayability, it would probably shoot up to number 1. As it is though, it has a few things stopping it from taking the top spot. The online was boring at launch. The levels aren't really meant for the mechanics of the game, and once you beat it, there isn't really a whole lot left to do. And considering it takes about 2.5 hours to beat, the fact that it's still number 4, despite that, should tell you just how much I love this game. The physics of this game are just golden. The ollie height, the mechanics, the moves, everything is almost on par with Tony Hawk's Underground 2, although it is a bit slower than Underground 2, it looks like to me. The fact that it's anywhere near this close is a huge props to Vicarious Visions, who just got mixed into Blizzard. Man, I hope we get a new Tony Hawk game soon. Underground 3 I think would be fantastic. Some people really want them to remake Pro Skater 3 and 4, though I would rather have DLC personally. And Underground 3 could provide us with a new experience, with a classic mode, could have almost every map that Tony Hawk game has ever had. Really hope someone builds off this potential masterpiece. And God, if they make another one, please make it good, build off of this, and let me get off my board, because I miss that. I miss getting off my board. At number 3, we got my third most anticipated game going into the year, and one of the 2 that did not disappoint me. We have Doom Eternal. While I was excited for the game, I was a little skeptical on how they would follow up on Doom 2016. And for the most part, they did a really great job. We still got some great heavy metal music, some bloody violent gameplay, but mixed with that are now platform puzzles and a systematic way to defeat enemies. Those kind of dragged the game down a little bit, as now you're forced to play Doom a certain way and can't just use your favorite weapon. Yes, to some extent this was in Doom 2016 as well, but it wasn't nearly as important of a factor as it is in Eternal. Doom Eternal also put a lot more story and lore into the game. While that sounds great, it really dragged out throughout the campaign, which is something that they didn't really follow up from 2016 at all. Story and Doom games just don't match well. Want proof? Ask The Rock. He made the movie. Nonetheless, Doom Eternal is a fantastic game, well worth your time, and so far anyway, has some tremendous DLC that was almost, if not more fun than the original game itself. This one took me forever to play because people were begging me, just begging me to play this game. But at number 2, we have Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls? Weird name in terms of grammar, I just realized that. There's an S there. Oh boy, where to begin with this game? Apart from looking the best out of all these games on the list, Demon's Souls brings maybe the best gameplay, best atmosphere, and RPG elements I have seen in an RPG game since Fallout New Vegas, although in a completely different way. Every tiny bit of thing you do in Demon's Souls makes a difference. The way your character class is set up, the way you upgrade your weapons, who you save or who you kill out in the world, if you're in body form or soul form, who you kill in body form or soul form, what ring you're wearing, how strong your weapon is. Pretty much everything in this game makes and changes the gameplay drastically. And yes, it may seem hard if you go into like a hack and slasher like I originally did, but if you actually take time to figure out these mechanics and how to approach the challenges ahead of you, it actually doesn't seem as hard as it was. Once you figure out what you're doing and how to approach it, this game almost becomes an action puzzle game. They're still relying on your ability to parry, dodge, and time, but overall, this game is just a beast of a game if I've ever played one. Just an amazing work done. If you got a PlayStation 5, I say that Demon's Souls is a must play. Before we get to my number one game of the year, which probably shouldn't surprise anybody, let's go through some honorable mentions. First up, we got Animal Crossing New Horizons, a game that came out at the exact same time as Doom Eternal, and a game that Nintendo fans absolutely ate up. Personally, I'm not really into the idea of Animal Crossing, but the fact that it basically single-handedly sold out the Nintendo Switch back in April is enough to make me put it up on the honorable mentions. Next up, we got a game that is on my to-do list, but I don't have a way to play it yet. We have Half-Life Alyx, a VR game by Valve that actually expands on the Half-Life universe. Alyx is a revolutionary title within the VR market, and if you don't have this game but have a VR kit, you're doing it wrong, kiddo. The problem with Alyx is the same reason why it's so revolutionary. Being the first of its kind means there's not going to be any other games to play on VR. Well, not as big as this game anyway. I'm not going to spend up to $500 to play one single game for 10 hours. That's just not going to happen. Even if it is Half-Life. Maybe if more games that are as good as Alyx come down the line, but until then, Alyx will be promptly in the backlog, unless someone eventually makes a VR-less mod anyway. Next up on our honorable mentions, we got Hades, a game that when I look at it, I wonder how in the world was this a Game of the Year candidate? And almost every major publisher and critic out there love this game. Then look at user reviews, and it's nothing but 9s and 10s praising almost everything about it. Hades is a game I do plan on playing someday, in the future, to see what the hype is all about. But until then, I'm kind of staying away from it to prevent my first experience from being ruined. Someday we'll see what the hype is all about. But until then, it's going to be stuck in the honorable mentions for 2020. I got two more mentions for you, and we'll knock those out, starting with Fall Guys. Ah yes, Fall Guys. It came, took the world by storm, and then it went. Poor Fall Guys couldn't withstand the Among Us juggernaut that took over this year. But for a brief time there, Fall Guys was on top of the world. Over 170,000 people playing this game at once, watching their little bean go through obstacles. But there just wasn't enough here to keep people interested. Once you've seen all the courses, you kind of don't have anything left to do. You can't really interact with other players or your friends. You just sort of do your own thing, and if you win, then yay! You do it again. And if you don't, then yay! You do it again. It's just sort of redundant. Hopefully in the future someone will take this style of game and make it just absolutely greater, and I kind of hope it's the same developers, because they are honestly giving back to the community and they deserve it. Our last honorable mention is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Miles Morales is in a bit of a weird spot. On one hand, it is an extension of one of the best superhero games ever that's not named Arkham. On the other hand, it does absolutely nothing new, and right when you're getting into the story, it ends. It's more than the DLC, sure, but it's not enough to be its own game, and it's kind of being treated as such. It's cheaper than the average PlayStation 5 game, and can come bundled with the other Spider-Man game from a few years back, now remastered. It's visually stunning, has a lot of options, but gameplay just doesn't do much different. The only things that really added to this game that is an animation that has no effect on gameplay overall is a Super Venom Punch, which has an absolutely horrible name given that this is a Spider-Man game, and I don't know how they're going to incorporate that in the future. There's also an invisibility power, which I didn't use as much. The same problem that the original Spider-Man game here persists, and even has a similar story beats, just way shorter and way quicker. It's still a good time, but you might want to get the remastered game from a few years back instead of this one. If you've seen my channel over the past year, you already probably know what number 1 is. Coming in at number 1, we had the Final Fantasy VII Remake. My most anticipated game of the year, and it did not disappoint. Not only did this game faithfully recreate the opening 30% of the original Final Fantasy VII game, but it did so while looking absolutely stunning, with remixes of an already legendary soundtrack, fantastic gameplay, unless an enemy is in the air, and expands on everything that we know. It did kind of jump off the rails a bit towards the end with a very controversial ending and a bit confusing in classic Final Fantasy Kingdom Hearts fashion. Thank you, Nomura. This game is so good though for both newcomers to Final Fantasy VII and old players of the original game. Yes, it sucks it isn't the whole story, but what we got here is just a taste of the interesting world of Final Fantasy VII. From the hybrid gameplay that combines the hack and slash and old turn-based ATB mechanics, to seeing moments of the series that is so faithful, it's enough to make a grown man cry. Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't just my best game of 2020, it's the best game on the whole PlayStation 4 generation. A little scared of the journey ahead for this game, but Final Fantasy VII Remake is by far my game of the year for 2020. Of course, this is my list. How about you tell me your list down below in the comments? Maybe I missed a game. Maybe you think my list is horrible. Let me know. With that all wrapped up, let us look forward to 2021. Not sure what it has in store for us, but you better believe this channel and me are ready for it. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you haven't already, subscribe for more content, comment down below, and check the description for links such as the Discord.